F1, the American fairy tale. That is my title for this review, and I think it's very fitting from beginning to the very end as we go on a fairy tale journey, a fictional journey with Brad Pitt's Sonny Haynes, as you get him from the start of the movie to the end of the movie, living the fairy tale of a way past his prime driver who gets a chance to race back in F1. And F1, the movie, as it hits theaters, is going to impress a lot of people in different ways. The standout for me comes from the director, Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick last, and that is with the action scenes and his ability to direct a variety of action and movement and camera work in a way that really flashes itself well on screen, much like the gunfights in Top Gun Maverick, to these racing scenes and just the intense action and really highlighting, Haynes and everybody else driving on an edge per se, and it delivers just a lot of adrenaline, nonstop action, and things that you want to see yourself in theaters. Now, I didn't get a chance to see this in IMAX because a traffic jam stopped me from getting to the theater in time, but I did see this movie tonight, and I can definitely say between the sound and the visuals, this is going to be a must-see in IMAX if you're willing to pay that little extra bit of money and to go out in the theaters and do that. I think this is the type of movie that IMAX is really there to really enhance more because of the sound that goes with this movie with the racing scenes, because of just the scope and the direction and the cinematography from Krasinski and team. It just works really well in IMAX. Mixed in there, I think, is a huge collage of decent actors who are playing fun characters that I think people are going to be attached to. I mean, Brad Pitt is the standout as Sonny Haynes for a lot of people. He is just Sonny Haynes. That's the best way I can describe it. He is kind of that grungy older guy who feels like he knows it all, and he goes maybe on a little bit of a journey, but I think this is one of Brad Pitt's best kind of roles that he fits in a while, and Brad Pitt's always been a very solid actor in my opinion. But I think the ones that stand out to me best before we go into the rest of the crew, Carrie Condon as Kate, a kind of head engineer for the team that Sonny's on. I think she delivers so much great chemistry with Sonny and everybody around. She holds herself very well on the screen, and it's just a very great charismatic character that's been given a lot to do in the story well. Another big standout for me playing our secondary driver, Joshua Pierce's mom, is Sarah Niles, and she has a moment kind of in the middle of the movie that I think was a standout, and I'll go into it more later, that I think really highlights the best parts of the story of this movie, and she just had this great presence, pairing up besides her on-screen son, Damus Idris, who plays Joshua Pierce, the rookie F1 driver that is trying to prove himself out into the world, that he is better than this old man and that he should stay in the sport as his team is crumbling around him. And Damson Idris had a tough task of this movie, being paired in a very much almost secondary lead role besides Brad Pitt, and maybe not given as much flesh there with the script that I think really could have suited, could have helped his character, flourish more. But Idris does the most he can on screen, and as a newcomer kind of in the scene, I can't wait to see what other work he might get off of this. I think he has that star power to him. He has that charisma, that smile. You kind of see it in the storyline here as a F1 racer and brand ambassador, but I think he has a flair to be somebody to watch out for many years to come. Javier Bardem is Ruben Cervantes, the team owner. I think he does a decent job, but he's kind of playing a more cliched role, as well as some other people on this cast. But I do think with this F1, the movie, is going to hit a lot of people's, pure adrenaline needs. It's going to give you a lot of action. It'll give you just enough story that you feel like you're happy with it, and maybe some ways you're not over encumbered by it. And it delivers more and more action and action and action and quality action, score, and racing, and just gives you a thrill of a time in the theaters. And that's why, for me, F1 the movie is getting a platinum rating. I think for the average person, this is a movie you're going to really love to go see in theaters, and it's going to be one that you're going to tell other people, man, that was something that I felt like I had to see in theaters. It was a good movie that I enjoyed, but it really felt like I needed to see in theaters. You should go see it in theaters too. And that, I think, is what F1 the movie succeeds with the most. Now, you're probably wondering why there's still so much time left in this review. I gave it a platinum. I gave my thoughts. 5 minutes have gone by. And that's just because this is the type of movie that I will go harder and more in depth on more in my thoughts in a review, because it is a platinum. It's a very good movie. It's a very good time. People will enjoy it in theaters, and it deserves that platinum rating up here. But it had all the pieces to be like that high diamond type movie, and I can't help but not talk those out in my personal review after I give my general audience review. So if you want to stick around and get more of my thoughts, feel free. If you're happy with my review and you want to go check it out, hey, no hard feelings. Just leave a like on the channel, and I can't wait to see your thoughts on F1 in the comments down below. But the script of this movie for me is what holds me back from loving this movie, because it's very, very cliche at points. Again, I said that Damson Idris does a really good job as the secondary driver, Jessica Pierce, as a newcomer kind of coming into both the scene of acting per se, but also of this movie. But his character, I feel, is littered with weak character moments in writing that give him just basic cliche hang-ons, and Idris is doing all he can to elevate that character as high as he can get, given the paper-thin type script. The stakes in this movie are very, very generic, boring stakes in a fictional sports movie that, again, I think hampers the movie and hampers the journey, what could have been a great movie overall. The idea that Javier Bardem is an owner who wants to hang on to his team but is struggling, I think, doesn't need the overextension stakes that are given, and you'll have to watch the movie to see if they hit them or not. And then there's just the tad bit of unrealistic nature in some ways. I think one thing this movie does very well is I think it does give a lot of importance and technical side, and give a nice introduction to an average person on what Formula One is and why so many people, including myself, follow it now in everyday life. Austrian Grand Prix this weekend. I'm looking forward to FP1, FP2 tomorrow morning. You have qualifying in the race, and I've enjoyed that. And this movie delivers just enough of that I think it will create people's interest. The downside, though, is this is so much of a fairy tale with how the racing is, especially the racing style of Sonny Hayes is, that people are going to go to the real-life product, and this movie is nothing resembling the real-life product. There is so much illegal and dangerous and just and I know it's a fictional movie, don't get me wrong. Like I said, remember, I gave this movie a solid platinum. I'm talking about what I think capes it for me from being an amazing diamond and one of the best sports movies I've seen in the last decade, if not even more. And it's the fact that it's so unrealistic with the way that it, racing cars and dangerous racing cars, and it's so, unrepresentative of the product itself. You're never going to have, and I know, like I said, I know it's a fictional movie in that way, but F1 racing is so much more than what they're presenting, and they could have went, I think, more into that side and really taken the stakes out a little bit. Really, when I take the stakes out, I mean just not make them as generic and bland as possible, and really focus in on the F1 part itself more, and allow those relationships and these character moments to bleed through in a much more fluid and tight-written way, instead of falling back on very big generic stereotypes, both for racing from an American sense, but just sports movie sense itself. And and I really do think that is gonna hang me up a lot with F1 the movie, in terms of I see that top 10 all-time movie, top 50 or top 100 all-time movie for me, if we're able to really just hamper down and take away some generic fluff and trust your audience to understand these deeper connections and like really open up an honest feel of both what F1 the product is like, but also what these characters are going through, and like instead of just writing it as kind of thin sheets of paper, and it really just, I think, just boils down to like wanting to fantasize this more. This is an American fairy tale. This is F1 in the hands of an American who grew up with NASCAR and is playing the F1 game, and he's playing it without any type of like damage things, and all with rules basically turned off in some ways. And I think for a lot of people, including myself, you will enjoy that and have that. But man, do I see that missed opportunity of a more finely combed story that really sinks itself in more and delivers like not just an action-packed, thrilling movie, but something that goes beyond that, is just top-tier, amazing spectacle. And that's why this review is longer, because I see that top-tier, amazing spectacle if it was just given more time to process this story and plan this out and really just give it a better comb-over and trust that your audience doesn't need things dumbed down to be a summer blockbuster hit. But that's kind of my thoughts on F1 the movie. Really decent time in theaters. I gave it a platinum. I went into why I really wish there could be more in there to make this a diamond. But at the end of the day, this is still a good time in theaters. And if you stuck around to the end, let me know in the comments down below. And tell me if you agree with my criticism or not, if you made it to the end. But I'm looking forward to seeing Megan 2.0. And then rounding out the first half of the year. We're getting close to movie number 80 for me on the channel. My goal this year is to watch 200 movies. So I need to get 120 more new movies that come out this year by the end of the year. So like and subscribe for all that. But thank you for watching this F1 the movie review. And I'll check you out in the comments and anywhere else right now.